On the other side of this road in the Syrian town of Al-Hamadiyah, the Israeli military have set up military outposts. Syrian officials say Israel is steadily pushing beyond the lines agreed more than 50 years ago, edging closer to Damascus and further into Syrian land. This is the closest we can get to the Israeli positions. Now, since the fall of Bashar al-Assad and the regime, Israel has moved further into Syrian territory. Now, that movement into Syrian territory, that incursion, has not just political ramifications, it has real life consequences for the people living in this area, their movement, their livelihoods and their safety. In the south, residents say incursions have become more frequent. There are new checkpoints, armed patrols and raids into villages long considered outside Israel's reach.
This morning, Israeli occupation forces advanced into the village of Hanut. Women and children were terrified. These incursions are happening on a daily basis. The Israeli forces interrogate the civilians and sometimes offer them aid, but people refuse. We don't trust this enemy. This is a blatant violation of Syrian sovereignty.
This is the 1974 Disengagement Agreement. The red line marks Syrian-controlled territory. The blue line marks Israeli positions in the occupied Golan. Between them, a buffer zone, monitored by the United Nations to prevent military advances from either side. Damascus says Israel forces are now operating not just inside that zone, but further into Syrian territory, in clear breach of the accord. Israeli Prime Minister Benjamin Netanyahu says the agreement with Syria collapsed when rebels took over the country.
Well, unfortunately, that's not how international law works. International law works with states, and Syria has honored its agreements. It has honored international human rights law agreements that were signed, some of them under the regime, obviously constantly breached, but we have honored them in the Constitutional Declaration. We've honored the UN Charter. Syria is a part of the UN Charter. We've honored Security Council resolution, and Israel has done nothing of that.
Syria says it has written to the UN Security Council complaining about Israel's actions and continues diplomatic efforts to call on the international community to restrain Israel. For villagers living along this border, every new checkpoint, every advance is a reminder that the lines drawn in 1974, lines meant to ensure stability, are now under strain. And they say unless the United Nations enforces that agreement, the quiet along this frontier may not last. Baig, Jazeera, Quneitra, southern Syria.
Well, Gideon Levy joins us now. He is a columnist for the Israeli newspaper Haaretz. He joins us from Tel Aviv. Thanks for being with us once again, Gideon. Now, Netanyahu says he expects Syria to establish a buffer zone. I mean, does this come across as a request or a demand?
It is a demand, and it is an outrageous demand. If Israel wants a security zone, it's kindly invited to do it on its own territory. What Netanyahu is asking for more territory, this time from the Syrian country.
Okay, what is Netanyahu actually trying to do here? Is this simply a way for him to try and seize as much territory as possible?
No, it's not only about territory. It's first of all maintaining the situation of war. He does so in Gaza, in Lebanon, and in Syria. He is interested in continuing the war. There is no ceasefire for him. Hundreds were killed in Gaza ever since the ceasefire started. Dozens were killed in Lebanon. Israel continues as if nothing. And there is no one to stop Israel because Donald Trump seems to support all those steps.
Okay, so if this is, like you say, just a part of the continuation for him, what's his actual end goal here? When does this stop?
Finally, I would wish, and it is possible, I guess, to have a real agreement with Syria, but a real one. And then, but it must include the full sovereignty of Syria over all the Syrian territories. Otherwise, what agreement is it? It's a surrender. And the question is if we can get it. That's the only solution.
Where is the United States in all this? I mean, we saw President Shirar at the White House for an historic meeting with Donald Trump, and Trump just yesterday said that Netanyahu has to maintain a strong dialogue with the country. What sort of effect is that going to have, do you think? Is Netanyahu going to listen to Trump on this?
Yeah, he has to listen to Trump, but he can also fool him, and he does it so many times. The Syrian president is right now one of the darlings of Donald Trump, and Netanyahu has to be very careful not to harm him. But saying this, he can continue to bomb and conquer some territories in the southern part of Syria, as long as the Syrians don't go out of their way to retaliate.
Okay, Gideon, we'll have to leave it there for the moment, but thank you so much, as always, Gideon Levy, for us in Tel Aviv.
Thank you for having me.
Don't miss out. Get the full picture. Subscribe to Al Jazeera for reliable news, expert insight. Like, share, stay ahead.